I love the $5 paint club. I love the $5 paint club. They will teach me how to paint all my projects. Show me how to paint furniture with a new mindset. I love the $5 paint club.
Hey everyone, I'm Serena with the $5 Paint Club, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make your own glaze, as well as how do you use glazes on your finished pieces. So let's get started. Making your own glaze is really easy. All you need is everyday household paint. A sample container like this will be just fine. You just need a little bit, not a whole lot. You obviously need it in the color of which you're going to be glazing. I like to use a lot of dark glazes. If this was a white piece, I'd be using like maybe a dark brown glaze, even a black or charcoal glaze like we're going to be using today. On a gray piece, I love using charcoal. Glazes became very popular in the 1990s with the whole phenomenon of refinishing kitchen cabinets. Glazes are often made, obviously, of a medium with a type of paint base added to it. And when you create those two, you get a glaze. And a glaze is actually a translucent paint. It creates a nice finish where you can still see the color underneath of it. And it's just a great finishing technique that you should always have in your toolbox. We use it quite a bit, especially in dining room tables, hutches, buffets, kitchen cabinets. We don't do a lot of kitchen cabinets anymore, but back in the day when we used to do kitchen cabinets, we used a lot of glazes. Glazes also add another layer of protection and durability to a piece, depending on what kind it is. We're going to be making our own glaze today with a product called Flood. It's a very common product, the latex-based product that it's for, you want to make sure that on it says latex-based paint additive. We're going to be using, obviously, a Home Depot, a sample Valspar sample paint, so you want to make sure that you get the one that's for latex paints. It's very easy to find in the paint section of pretty much any sort of paint store, Home Depot, Lowe's, Sherwin-Williams, any of those, you can find this product. This product is actually used to eliminate brush and roller marks and improves the flow and leveling. Most household latex paints are self-leveling, and this is just a little bit of an additive that you can add to any paint. When making your own glazes, there really is no need to be using chalk paints. They're expensive. It's just not necessary for this kind of project. So once you find a piece that you want to glaze, you get a nice paint job on it. If you need to know how to paint, go back to the 101 video and check that out, and I'll teach you everything you need to know about painting. I like to glaze on pieces that have nice detail. You can see here that there's nice lines and round little decorative details. And so those are kind of pieces that are work really well with glazing. Anytime you can get details along here, they work really, really well. So let me show you how to make your own glaze. Now, the nice thing about making your own glaze is glazes are not very expensive. You buy them pre-made. You can get them in metallic colors, which are a lot of fun, but you can make your own as well. What I like about making my own glaze is I only make what I need, and then I can always make more. You're not in the business of storing paint and glazes that you're going to use one time and never go back to again. So the formula to make your own glaze is 3 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. So let me show you how that's done. Shake your bottle real well first. Shake, 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 shake. Okay, so shake your paint up here. So remember, 3 parts, there we go, much better. 3 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. Now, I don't have any like scientific measuring tool, mainly because that means you would have to wash it, so no thanks. So I just kind of guess it. You can tell when you've made it enough. You can tell by the texture of it, by the look of it, if you have the right mix or not. I used to use glazes quite a bit when I was teaching, and anytime you're making signs, Glaze is actually quite nice to take over the top an antique piece, give it an aged effect. So you can look at glazes on smaller pieces. I normally, like I said, you can do them in hutches and buffets and kitchen cabinets. I tend to use it most part on the smaller pieces. I also find that when you're going to flip smaller pieces, they're cheaper to buy if you're buying pieces. They're also easier to find for free. Like this is a freebie piece. But these little tiny pieces are great to be flipping. They can almost find a space in anybody's home. So if you're in a small apartment or you're in a house, you can almost always find a place for a small side table. So with these, I like to kind of give it a little extra instead of just leaving it this and waxing it or using a polyacrylic on it. I like to give it a little bit extra something for the buyer of it. So make it stand out and be unique. So we have 1 part paint. Now this is actually gonna make a lot more than I need, but remember I'm trying to teach y'all. 1 part paint to 3 parts Floetrol. So, like I said, no scientific measurement. If you wanna get a measuring cup out, you're welcome to do so. So you can see 1 part paint, 3 parts Floetrol right there. I'm just gonna go ahead and mix this up, and you're basically making a translucent paint. Don't be scared when you see it. And there should be very little smell to this at all. I typically like to use VOC-free paints so that you don't have a lot of smell. Here in Florida, we have to do a lot of our painting inside, so you want to try to keep the smells to a minimum. If you happen to be in a climate where you can paint outside a lot, well, good for you. So we don't live in one of those. As far as brushes, flat chip brushes is fine. You can also use your Klingon, your round brushes. Because this has grooves and rounded decorative pieces, I'm gonna be using a round brush. I just find that using round brushes makes it a lot easier than flat brushes on surfaces like this. So like if you're doing spindles and whatnot, I definitely find that the round brushes work better for that. So glazing is crazy easy. A lot of people are afraid of glazes. They see the pictures on Pinterest and they're like, oh, that looks so cool. I could never do that. You can also get the same effect of glazing by using a dark wax. I'll kind of show you that later on. But what I like about glazing is there's just no, like, it just doesn't matter where it is. You see, you just kind of brush it on wherever you want. A nice, then remember, translucent paint. You can see the black, but you can see underneath of it too. So you can see how the round brush just kind of goes into this nice little detailed workmanship. When you're glazing, you want to work in sections. It will dry quickly. The idea is you're going to be wiping it off. So definitely work in sections. I'll do the front here first, then the middle, then the back, and so on. So you definitely want to work in small sections. Okay, so once you get that on, you're gonna go ahead and take your rag, and I'm actually gonna cut my rag up. I use old t-shirts for rags. They make perfect paint rags. And you can make a choice if you're gonna wash them or throw them away. Sometimes I throw them away and sometimes I wash them. Usually if I'm waxing my old wax ones, I'll throw those away because they're not worth washing. So anyway, so you're just gonna wanna wipe the excess. See what I mean? It dries very quickly. And this will help you see any spots that maybe you want to go back again, darken up, lighten up. So this is the whole paint on, wipe off. Now when it comes to sealing anything that's been glazed, you can seal it with a polyacrylic or wax, just like you would any other piece. There's nothing special that you need to do when it comes to the sealing part. So nothing special needs to be done when you're sealing a piece like this. Now the whole idea of glazing is to give it an old world kind of look. You know, that look that you would get if something was old, used, kind of dirty, maybe in a way, a dirty clean. I also like glazing when you're dealing with pieces with a lot of imperfections. It's a nice way to kind of hide an imperfection. So you just want to keep working this. You can almost see that my brush is dry. See, it's almost kind of dry. I say that in a lot of my videos, less is better. You just, when you start dragging paint around and it just gets messy, less is better. You could see here how well this works, this method with using the Floetrol, and how you could really incorporate it. And I know a lot of you love doing your signs and your small crafts. So you can see how this paint technique you can easily incorporate into those small projects as well and get a really cool look. It's all about trying to think outside the box. It's great that we all can paint a piece, but what can we do with a piece after we're done? It's all about putting a little bit of makeup on it, dressing it up for a night out. If you guys make your glaze and you have a lot left over, I always save in our house. We're kind of savers, so we save all those like little containers. The gelato containers make amazing paint storage things, so it gives you an excuse to go to the store and buy gelato. So you definitely want to store your glaze so you can go back and use it again. I always suggest that you also write on the container the color of the paint and the day that you made it. Anything more than 6 months old, I would throw it away. Once you start mixing additives into paints, at that point the paint begins to break down, and really about 6 months is key for that. So more than 6 months, toss it. There's a lot of great additives like Floetrol and mediums on the market. A lot of times I'll put a glazing medium on it. This bottle of Floetrol that I'm using, I think it runs about $7. It's a lot of glaze, by the way, for $7. But you can buy glazing mediums too, and the minute they put glazing medium on it, it suddenly is $20 for a bottle. There's not really any difference between a glazing medium and using Floetrol. As a painter, to me, that is a product that every painter should have in their toolbox. I know one of the biggest complaints in paints is how do you keep it from getting brush marks? And that's a great product to prevent that. Kind of thins that paint out a little bit and causes a nice self-leveling, especially if you're making your own paints. I don't typically have too much problems with streaking. I like that word, stripping and streaking, by the way. I like that, that's funny. I don't typically have too many problems with streaking. I think it also comes down to the brush and developing a technique. And most of all, just be forgiving of your own work. A lot of times we're our own worst critics. Now, if you get to a point where you're working on your piece, you'll see me from time to time kind of step back. When you're up close to a piece like this, and it's so small, a lot of times you need to step back to kind of see where you need to fill in your spaces. So always step away from your work from time to time. It's healthy. Just walk away. There are so many amazing post-paint finish ideas out there. I could probably go on for months and months of just things you can do after you paint a piece just to get a little extra dollar on them, especially if you're a flipper. Now, what I like about glaze is what I was saying about imperfections, you can see here that you get these like niches in the wood. You know, it's aged, it's used. I like to kind of like accentuate those. So you can see here, I went ahead and I wanted to like fill those in. I really like those a lot. And then once you kind of fill those in, then you can just do a nice long sweeping. Now I know I said this at the beginning, but remember, a glaze just means that it is a transparent paint. If you make your own glazes and you can't see the color that you started with, you just made paint, not glaze. So always remember that. 3 parts Floetrol and 1 part paint. See, there's no reason for you to go out and spend a ton of money on buying different colored glazes. And you can make any color of the rainbow you want. I'm loving that. That looks good. If you're a messy painter like I am, this is like the greatest thrill on earth, let me tell you. happy with that. I think it looks good. So here we have a small little piece, just a few minutes, a little bit of glaze, a little bit of patience, a nice dirty rag, and that's how you glaze. So it's about as easy as that. Remember, 3 parts Floetrol, also called, if you go to Home Depot or Lowe's, also called Flood. You can see it right there, Flood. 3 parts this, 1 part paint, and just work with it. It's super easy. Now, once you get done with your glazing and how you like it and make sure that you're happy with it, there's a couple of things you can do after this. You can wax it, you can polyacrylic it, you can also use a little bit of metallic waxes to it. You can kind of just keep going. Typically when I glaze, I'm done. That's my finishing, you know, that's the last of the last. So it was just a little bit of something that I needed on it, but it's your project and you're welcome to do whatever you want to with it. But here we go. Glaze 101, super easy. Anything you want pretty much can go on dressers, buffets, hutches, kitchen cabinets, anything you want, you can do it. So hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and we'll see you around. Thanks so much. Bye.